as isekai series get more and more and more numerous, we're getting a lot of really weird ones. I mean, recently we've had isekai as a sword, we had the vending machine, and yes, this season we now have isekai as a pig. Because what says fun and excitement like an otaku from our modern times Japan getting isekai'd into the body of a pig? But yes, Heat the Pig Liver, a series that is airing in the fall 2023 anime season. I have watched the first 3 episodes of the series, and, well, I had my hesitations based on the seiyuu for the pig, which is Kirito, which I am growing to not like. I can honestly say this is probably easily one of his best performances, and there's a lot more in this show that I'm actually enjoying, surprisingly enough. But yes, my thoughts on those first 3 episodes, so let's just jump right into it. Eat the Pig Liver opens up with this guy waking up inside of a pig pen. And he's looking around, and there's pigs everywhere. He can't move at the time, and eventually this one girl walks into the barn itself and notices him off to the side. In his mind, he's trying to call out to her, and then when he tries to speak, nothing but meh comes out, like a pig noise comes out. But strangely enough, this girl can actually understand what he's actually thinking. So she quickly grabs something to pull him out of the pig pen and takes him back to this room. There he wakes up, and she says that she's done all that she could for him, and it seems like he can finally move again. To which point he finally looks into a mirror and realizes that he's in fact a pig. But through this conversation with this girl, he ends up discovering that she is one of this particular type of race. These people that can actually read minds. And that's why she's able to understand what he's thinking. And yes, understand every dirty thought that he has about her. He has literally no filters because, again, she's reading everything that he's thinking. So even when he's just trying to think to himself rather than actually talk to her through his mind, she's picking up on all of it. So very quickly, he has to establish with her that, okay, whenever I think with this kind of sound effect, then you'll know it's where I'm trying to talk to you, while not, it's my internal thoughts. So don't try to read everything as something that I want to tell you. Because again, his mind just runs off to random directions, constantly thinking pervy thoughts about her. And on the opposite end, her being this one particular race, she's also pretty much like a maid. Like all they do is serve people. So yeah, she's kind of used to being pretty willing to kind of do whatever he needs her to do. When he thinks about the fact that he would really like her to pat him, she quickly proceeds to pat him, and he really likes it. But then he kind of tries to instill upon her, look, don't do everything that I'm thinking that I want you to do, because then it kind of just makes me feel like I owe you way too much stuff than I can actually repay as a pig. We'll cut forward, he ends up following her around as she does her daily routine. She goes to each one of these barns, and she puts these crystals into the wall that sort of activate different powers. There's 4 of these gems that she has, and there's a 5th one that's a black gem. Each one sort of having a different element, while the black one is sort of an overall prayer. Eventually they go out walking, and the entire time he's narrating the fact that he's seeing her skirt kind of flipping up, and that he's gonna end up seeing that certain fabric underneath there, and she quickly turns and says, well, you can follow me closer if you want. Again, this girl is just like, always willing to help however she can. She's willing to do nearly anything. Eventually they find this tree to kind of stand nearby, and at which point he kind of points out the fact that she's super beautiful, and she gets a little mad that he's always calling her beautiful, but he's like, you know, look, those that are beautiful typically don't know that they're beautiful. To which she says, if you keep calling me beautiful, I'm gonna spank you. In which he immediately goes, okay, turns around and says beautiful. But jokes aside, the pig pretty much asks her if it's common that people in this world, since she can read minds, is it common in this world that people are, you know, transformed into animals? Which this girl Jess admits that yes, technically in the past, back during this big mage war, there were those certain types of people that were able to actually turn people into animals. And she claims that the king should be able to know about it. So since she has this time off coming up here soon, she offers to take him all the way to the king, and so that they can ask him about it. She claims that the king is supposed to be a benevolent type, so he shouldn't mind bringing this pig in to talk to him. So thus they start their journey to the kingdom. Along the way, they end up dropping by this one place where Jess is trying to find a black gem to purchase it. And she tries to buy it in this like dark alley place, and this guy tries to scam her, selling her 4 of these gems for really cheap, to which the pig ends up kind of suspecting that the guy's trying to swindle her. That these gems technically don't disappear once you do a prayer. If the prayer is light enough, it can just only use partial amounts of the energy stored within the gems. And so he ends up telling Jess that, yeah, I think this guy is trying to scam you. He's selling it for super cheap compared to the actual official store, so there's gotta be something wrong with them. He also seemed like he was very hesitant because he's seen that she had this emblem which signifies the family that she works for. But additionally, while conversing with Jess, he ends up discovering that the reason that Jess is trying to find one of these black gems, which again are gems that they use in order to pretty much do prayers and ask of requests. He ends up finding out that, yes, Jess ended up using one of these gems in order to restore him. Because back when he was in the pig pen, he wasn't able to see very well and he wasn't able to move. And she used these gems in order to essentially restore him. And if the family that she's working for finds out that she wasted one of their gems, yeah, she's gonna have to go on the run as a thief. This is something that she was afraid of telling him because she didn't want him to feel bad about it, but he kind of figures, no, this is something I need to rectify. We're going to figure this out. Unfortunately, she doesn't have enough money to buy an official gem from the actual official store because it's really expensive. And he asks her if she's able to haggle a little bit, but she's too afraid of doing that because the guy that works at the store is really nice to her. But he says that he's going to handle it and tells Jess to go into the store and say everything that he's going to tell her to say. Unfortunately, when they get in the store and she suggests to the store owner, you know, hey, can you come down a little bit from that 500 to that 200? Yes, he quickly shuts her down. Despite the fact the pig was aware of this beforehand, yes, Jess is a race that is looked down upon. There's a lot of discrimination for their type. But then the pig proposes to Jess, through their minds, to offer him in exchange for the rest of the money, claiming that he could do tricks. To which he tells Jess to tell him a command to do something, and she says to dance. To which she starts dancing in the middle of the room. Everybody starts busting up laughing, and immediately the store owner's like, okay, I'll do it. No, actually, just take the gem and give me the pig. That's all I need. I don't need any of your money. Jess is, of course, a little concerned by this, but he assures her that when I get a chance, I'll just flee. And then the episode kind of wraps up with Jess offering to the store owner that she'll come by during the festival to kind of help out because, you know, she's afraid that he won't perform well unless she's there. So she's at his side the whole time. And that is Heat the Pig Liver. A very interesting show. First off, visually, it looks fine. I think there's a lot of good detail within Jess. Well, it kind of gets off model here and there. It still looks really good. There's a lot of detail given to her. It's obvious that it seems like, for the most part, just kind of other than the backdrops and whatnot, all the detail, all the animation is really being put into Jess. They're trying to make her as beautiful as possible, and she looks beautiful. Even including a little bit of sprinkle of ecchi in there, a little bit of upskirt here and there, which I honestly was expecting to be in it based on some of the PVs early on, but it seems like that's the case here. It's not always all over the place, but obviously with the pig being extremely perverted all the time, every now and then he catches a glimpse. He tries to hold himself back. It's kind of one of those aspects where she's really willing, but at the same time, he's trying to be kind of polite, even though he's kind of accepting a little bit of that perversion. They're both kind of accepting it, but at the same time, he's trying not to indulge too much. He's trying to keep himself restrained. This girl is super pure, super willing to do anything, and he just doesn't want to take advantage of it. But obviously, a lot of the performance in this show is around the pig. Again, this is a really great stellar performance by him. A lot of this story, it seems like a lot of this particular light novel, I'm assuming, is a lot in the pig's head. Like, this is constant dialogue. The entire show is literally him constantly narrating things, talking about things, overblowing situations. Like I said, just simply walking down the street, he's turning it into this big, long monologue about how her skirt is slowly drifting up and that he can possibly see something underneath there. It's just putting a lot in the performance of the character himself in his own mind, which is, yes, a lot of the comedy in this series so far is in that, yes, Jess is hearing all this. It's like he's just going off and off as an otaku and talking these grand stories, and she the entire time is responding to it, or sometimes responding to it, and he's like, you're not supposed to respond to that. Like, that's just my inner thoughts. Don't worry about that. Don't peek behind the curtain. Don't worry about it. Just keep walking. Just ignore me. Just ignore me for a minute. It's really great. And like I said, despite the fact that I'm not a massive fan of the seiyuu, he's a great seiyuu. He's an amazing seiyuu. I'm not saying that he does a bad job. It's just I've gotten tired of him because I hear him everywhere. But this is definitely a performance where it's similar to like So I'm a Spider, So What? Where that series it's basically Aoyuki. Like, she makes that show because there's so much dialogue, there's so much in the head of the spider that she sells the show because her performance is so fantastic. This is a similar case here. They probably spent most of their budget trying to get this guy hired. And he's nailing it. He is pulling off this character and that grandiose, the goofiness, the silliness, the perversion, every now and then getting serious. He's really pulling off this character in every single bit of dialogue that it's going through. Massive, massive credits to him. On the opposite end, the seiyuu that's working on Jess is doing a fantastic job as well. She's super cute. She's very polite. She's very soft-spoken. That kind of contrasts him a lot. This idea that he's over-the-top grandiose, very loud, while she's very soft. She's very soft-spoken, very kind, very gentle, and that's, again, technically what's sort of making him chill out here and there. It's like, okay, this girl is too pure. I need to chill. Outside of the comedy and the constant back and forth between the two of these characters, because that literally does feel like most of this show and this story is probably going to be, is really their interaction with each other, which, again, technically so far has been phenomenal. Like, I actually got through most of the synopsis because I'm not really getting into detail of everything they're conversing about, and a lot of that's really fun. The chemistry is really solid so far. And honestly, if the chemistry between the two of them wasn't solid, these 3 episodes of mostly nothing but them talking would have been boring. But outside of that, going back outside of that, is the world itself, which I find to be very fascinating. I don't know how crazy detailed it's going to get so far, but I already have a lot of assumptions that I'm already going to build. Again, they're kind of talking about this world that's kind of built around this idea that there was this big mage battle that happened a long time ago. Currently, it seems like there's peace, but there's like different families and different rulerships of different areas. And again, Jess is a part of this one race that all have to wear these collars that can read the minds of other people. And again, they're seemingly subjugated. They're seen as less. There's prejudice against them. Like I said, the store owner seems okay with her because she's buying stuff from them. He's okay with her. But at the same time, whenever it comes to him actually doing a favor for her, it seems like he's not really willing to bend. Even though I feel like I could argue that he did a terrible job of trying to guide Jess into some way of haggling, because there's a million things that he could have had her say that could have, I guess, give us a little more insight into just how prejudiced this guy is. Because it does seem like he's concerned for her as the later parts of the conversation goes. Because at some point, he asked something to the effect of the family itself, and Jess said, oh, that's fine. My replacement is going to arrive soon. And this indicated to him, oh, so that's already happening. What it was already indicating there, and I'm already kind of drawing my assumptions here, is that, yes, in fact, Jess is supposed to be off work right now, but in actuality, she's being relieved of her job, being relieved of her duty. Somebody's coming in to replace her. And because of what the store owner, how he sort of said that, indicates to me that she's done. Like, her life is done. The theory that I created the moment that she showed those gems that she had in her hand was the idea that there's a possibility that, at least with their race, or possibly other races as well, that the gems are probably made from these people. That's why they're so expensive, that's why they're hard to come by, is because probably they sacrifice people like Jess in order to create these crystals. And that's my assumption as to, oh, it's that time already. Oh, she's being relieved of her duty. Oh, she's supposed to go somewhere. She's supposed to go to the same place where the king is at least. And she's willing to go with him there. She's constantly looking sad. He's talking about the future and stuff like that. And she seems to have, like, distant looking eyes. It seems to indicate the idea that probably Jess is supposed to be sacrificed. And again, I'm sort of theorizing right now is that their sacrifice creates the gems that everybody seems to use, which I think is going to get into more of a dark, grimmer aspect of this story and this world they're in, because obviously just subjugation of Jess and her people isn't enough. We're going to probably get darker. And I think the overall theme is going to be is that relationship between the pig and Jess, and at some point realizing that Jess is in danger and he's going to have to figure out, probably just based on his wits alone, because he's a pig, unless he finds out some sort of overpowered ability to do a pig charge or fly through the air or magic maybe. Yeah, he's going to have to rely strictly on his wits to help her through the situations and possibly get out from being sacrificed. Because the sad reality of it is that somebody like Jess, being raised in a world where their family, this is just what they do, she's not going to question it. That's why she's so willing to do anything the pig asks, is because she's used to just doing whatever anybody asks of her. Their kind is just seen as less than dirt. I'll just be curious to see how far into that story they're actually going to get. How quickly they're going to get into the storyline. About the only way that I could see him possibly being able to talk her out of the situation in a sooner sense is the idea that was a possibility that when they get to the king and she explains to the king that this pig that's with her is a human with inside the pig, if the king themselves will see this as sort of a sign that she needs to stay with the pig, that the pig is destined for something or something like that, which would be kind of funny. The king just freaks out. Oh, it's the chosen one that has been foretold. There's been a prophecy that somebody will arrive from another world It's unfortunate that it's a pig, but that's fine. We'll figure out how to get him out from the pig body. But either way, you must protect the pig. That would be kind of the only real comical way they can get out of that. It is technically one of those series that, as it's hinting on the idea of the subjugation of this family, the idea of them being treated as servants, the idea of the prejudice within the town, all these things sort of sprinkling, and then, yes, technically the idea of Jess possibly being a sacrifice, the possibility of them being the Jims, is starting to hint at that darkness of the world that it could possibly have, and I'm curious how dark it's going to get. That aside, the dark stuff aside, the meat and potatoes here is really just the chemistry between the pig and Jess. And again, I said before, I had my hesitation because of the Seiyu, but he's nailing it. They're both nailing it. I love their chemistry. I love the back and forth. It's so much fun. Yes, it's got a sprinkle of ecchi in there. This guy's kind of pervy-headed, so if you don't like that kind of pervy thoughts kind of stuff, there's no real filters here. And it's a lot of fun because the unfilteredness of it is the joke because she sees everything. And it's a lot of fun. So he gets so excited when she calls him a pig. To be called a pig by a beauty like you, he just falls over. That's my thoughts on Heat the Pig Liver. Pig liver. That by the way, that's a joke, is that he didn't, I think, heat the pig liver, and so he died and he got isekai'd into the world as a pig. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's something like that. He's an otaku, but that's my thoughts on the series. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what you think of the series if you're gonna be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you got my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody does, and y'all take care.